Out of the depths I cry to you, O Lord. Lord, hear my voice. Let your ears listen to the voice of my prayers. Psalm 130, appointed to be sung this Sunday, could not possibly be more timely. Are you there, God? Are you listening? Do you hear our voices? Our heartfelt prayers are going up to you. Your people are suffering. Have we done something wrong? What are we to learn from all this? We wait for you. We wait in hope to hear your message. 2 weeks ago, I was looking forward to the next Lenten study group. 2 weeks ago, I was looking forward to the worship that we had planned for Holy Week and Easter. 2 weeks ago, you and I were more or less going about our lives as usual. What a difference 2 weeks can make. Within that span of time, we have all come to terms with something shocking. We and all the world are caught in the grips of the worst pandemic in living memory. We have tended to think of the great plagues of the Bible as just stories from a distant past. We have thought of the awful plagues of the Middle Ages as something that could surely never happen in our advanced human society. Well, unfortunately, we were wrong. These are no longer just stories of the past. You and I are now having to deal with a real pandemic, a global crisis. It's going to affect every single part of the world, one way or another. As I speak this morning, countries are in lockdown. Travel has ground to a halt, borders are closed, businesses shut down, people are in quarantine, over 600,000 people have been infected, hospitals are becoming overwhelmed, thousands of people are dead, ice rinks and refrigerator trucks are being used as makeshift morgues. It's awful. Governments are being forced to take the kind of emergency action that has not been seen since the Great Wars. And for good reason. We are being attacked by something invisible, and it does not discriminate. Whether it's national leaders or famous actors or doctors, flight attendants or seniors in retirement homes, one thing is clear. Everyone's vulnerable. And the only way to bring it to an end is to stop passing it on to one another. This is very scary, and the ramifications for our society are huge. Within 2 weeks, everything that we took as normal was swept away. We can't go to work the way we used to. We can't go to school. We can't go shopping. We can't go to church. We can't visit our friends. Our financial security's up in the air. Our social events of any kind are canceled. This is by far the biggest test of our humanity in my lifetime. Are we going to pull together and collaborate for the common good? Are we going to recognize that this moment for us is a moment to deepen our relationship with God and with one another? Are we able to see that God is with us in the midst of our struggle? Can we see compassion and meaning in the midst of the suffering? Well, from my perspective as a Christian leader, what I see is that we have all been ushered into a Lenten fast like no other. We've never experienced a Lenten fast like this in our lifetime. Now often, as we enter into this season, we choose to give up something for Lent. What shall I give up for Lent? Perhaps it'll be chocolate. Perhaps I'll give up drinking alcohol. Perhaps I'll give up meat. We got to choose the thing that we were going to give up. Well, one thing is for sure. There's no choosing anymore. And the things that we are giving up are not just about symbolically observing the season of Lent. And furthermore, it's not just about being Christian. Right at this moment, every human being on the planet has been ushered into a time of fasting that has never before happened in the history of humanity. One by one, every country is realizing that it must join the fast. It must. We are being called to fast from physical interaction with one another. We're being called to fast from working in social settings. We're being called to fast from going out shopping. We're being called to fast from going out for meals in restaurants and pubs. We're being called to fast from traveling, called to fast from beach vacations and cruises. We're being called to fast from concerts, plays, movie theaters, and all forms of social entertainment. We even have to fast from visiting our family members and sharing a simple meal with them. And for you and me, one of the hardest things is that we're even being called to fast from gathering for worship. I grieve that we can't welcome each other at the door of the church. I grieve that we can't pray with one another with the same voice in the same space. I grieve that we can't sing together and feel our voices lift our hearts to God. I grieve that we can't take each other's hand and share the peace of Christ. And I grieve that we can't gather around the same table and share the bread and wine as Jesus asked us to do. This is surely a Lenten fast like no other. And there's no doubt that it's taking its toll on all of us in different ways. Children are not able to see their friends at school. Adults aren't able to visit with friends. Grandparents can't visit their children. Our seniors, who are so involved in the church and community volunteer service, are suddenly lonely and isolated as never before. This is not a symbolic feast. It's not a symbolic fast. This fast is leaving us starving. Starving for those we love and care for. Starving for physical affection, even a pat on the back. It's leaving us anxious and afraid for our future. But even in the midst of all this, I'm hearing voices speaking love and compassion. I'm seeing people encouraging one another by speaking on the phone. I'm seeing people rising to the moment, delivering groceries to those who can't get out. The people who are keeping the food chain going and stocking the shelves are being heroes. People who are on the front line caring for the sick are heroes. And if you are staying home and keeping proper social distance when getting your groceries, you too are heroes, because you are saving lives. Psalm 130 is always a powerful psalm. However, given our current life and death struggle with a virus that's killing people all over the world, it speaks for every one of us with great urgency. Please take a moment to pray this psalm with me. Out of the depths I cry to you, O Lord. Lord, hear my voice. Let your ears listen to the voice of my prayers. If you, O Lord, should mark iniquities, Lord, who could stand? But there is forgiveness with you, so that you may be revered. I wait for the Lord. My soul waits, and in his word I hope. My soul waits for the Lord more than those who watch for the morning, more than those who watch for the morning. It might be hard to see right now, but eventually we will see that God is very much with us in the midst of this difficult time. We've been ushered into a Lenten fast like no other. God is listening to our prayers. But the big question is, do our souls wait attentively for the Lord? Are we listening carefully for the word, for the message that is being offered to us in this strange moment? Are we perhaps slowly beginning to realize that our human plans and all our human busyness and all our silly human entertainments are dust in the wind? Are we beginning to realize that it is time to stop thinking of them as being so important? Are we beginning to realize that it is time to stop worshiping these things? If we simply desire everything to go back to the way they always were, then I suggest that we are not listening carefully enough. In the midst of our sufferings, there are things in our hearts asking to be transformed, and God knows it. In the midst of our sufferings, there are things in our hearts asking to be transformed, and God knows it. Amen.